Hello, everybody. The forum will be starting in just a few minutes, so please come in and have a seat. Join your friends. The forum is going to be starting very soon, within just a few minutes. It's going to be an exceptional forum this week. What's that?
I was just talking about Anna, and mid-February is coming for all the stuff that she wants to give us. Are you all set with that? A photo, member of the bio, or anything else that we need from them?
Communication with Daniel is very important. If there are any slides.
Yes, right. That's
Yeah.
what she was going to tell us.
Yes.
That. Okay. Very good.
Hello, everybody. The forum will be starting. The forum is starting in just a few minutes. So please come in and take a seat. Okay. We're going to be starting in just a few minutes. Leslie, are you coming to the forum?
Yes.
Coming
Oh, yeah. We are.
Wonderful.
We're just doing this, promoting the heck out of that.
Yeah.
There was not a good sign up, is what I heard. So.
I tried with my two organizations and I'm working.
Oh, good. Thank you for doing that.
One of them, I'm just not sure yet.
I can talk faster.
Janice will not be here, but I'll mention her.
Okay, you bet.
And to activate it. And Daniel is asking that when we give this mic to people to ask their questions, that we move away from them.
Oh.
Otherwise, we're obscuring them. And so it's hard to remember, though, when you actually start doing it. So I'm going to wait till they file in, then I'm going to introduce her. So if you want to.
All right.
Isn't it nice she's got the kids here?
Yeah. Young thing. They think I'm ancient.
Oh. Good morning and welcome to the forum. We're just delighted to see all of you here today. We're going to have an exceptionally interesting forum given by a friend of ours. Her name is Bertha Vasquez. She came from Miami today along with Janice Bird, who's a language arts teacher, and they've been working with our RE children this morning, the older children and the younger ones, and we're just delighted to have them here. Bertha is a retired science teacher who taught middle school for 34 years in the Miami-Dade public school system. She's now the education director at the Center for Inquiry, CFI. It's a wonderful organization that promotes science and reason. And Bertha runs a teacher-led network of over 100 teachers who have presented over 400 professional development sessions for their fellow teachers in all 50 states. The Teacher Institute for Evolutionary Science. It's a wonderful, imaginative, innovative, effective program. Her multifaceted approach to teaching climate science has been featured in the New York Times, NPR, Earth Magazine, and in a book and film series by Lynn Cheney titled Empowering Young Voices for the Planet. Her efforts awarded her the 2008 National Environmental Education Charles C. Bartlett Award, among others. Right now, she is the editor and contributing author of the book On Teaching Evolution. The name of the book is On Teaching Evolution, which was published in 2021. And she is the lead author of Core One Press's What Teachers Want to Know About Teaching Climate Change, which will be released in February this month, February 2025. Bertha's also worked in several translation projects, including the translation of Maria Hinich's book into English. The name of the book is A Brief History of 4 Billion Years of Evolution, Understanding Darwin. A regular contributor to the Skeptical Inquirer magazine and a speaker at skeptical and humanist conferences, Bertha is a fellow of the Committee for Skeptical Inquirer. Very grateful to have her here. I will tell you about Janice Bird, who's working with our students now as we will be here in this forum. Janice is a language teacher, and she's taught English, reading, and English as a second language for 36 years in the Miami area. Currently, she's teaching at the International Studies Preparatory Academy in Coral Gables, Florida, and is writing material for Generation Skeptics, which is a program that Bertha is leading as well. So we're just delighted that these two talented women have come to engage with us in our congregation today. So welcome.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see some friendly faces. It's nice to be back. I am Bertha, and I am, as she said, the education director of the Center for Inquiry. These are the three programs that I run. The Teacher Institute for Evolutionary Science. We help teachers with evolution education. Science Saves, which is the lesson I did with the young people today, the little kids, on promoting science appreciation. That's the whole program, and it's so fun to run this. And finally, the quintessential Center for Inquiry education program, and that's Generation Skeptics. It was founded by Carl Sagan and Isaac Asimov, and it was originally called Young Skeptics. We changed it about 1.5 years ago to Generation Skeptics. Oh, by the way, the TIES program came to the Center for Inquiry through the Richard Dawkins Foundation. Everything we offer teachers is free. We're all donor-based, so that's good to know. So we have TIES. We have awesome webinars I want you to know that are open to everybody. You just go to the TIES webpage. The next one coming up is on the evolution of fungi, which is really cool. There's the book Jeannie mentioned. And then Science Saves, we have a National Science Appreciation Day. That's March 26th. That's the day that Jonas Salk released his vaccine trials, his polio vaccine trials in 1956, I believe. So Florida is not one of the states that celebrates National Science Appreciation Day. So if you want to sign the petition to get Florida on there, that'd be great. We also have a $15,000 cash scholarship for high school seniors. So if you want to know more, let me know. So Generation Skeptics is the program that I'm here to talk to you about. And I'm learning a lot about this stuff. I can teach evolution backwards, forwards, insides, and out. I could talk about science appreciation all day long. But this program, I needed help. And this person on the screen there, that's Melanie Tresick King. She was zoomed in last time I was here. Melanie is like my mentor. She's the one who's teaching me all about how to teach about misinformation. And I told her I was coming here today. I told her I loved her SciCon presentation in Las Vegas in October. And she said, you can have my slides and you can have my presentation. So I just want to make this very, very clear that in addition to a few modifications, this is Melanie's presentation. Okay, so that's important. SciCon is where I saw Melanie. We had an amazing crowd last October. Neil deGrasse Tyson was there, Brian Cox was there, and Michael Mann, the climate change expert, was there. And like I said, this is her presentation. So let's begin. Whoops, back up. So Melanie began with a story, and I'm going to tell you that story. And I think by the age group in here, most of us remember in the 1980s, a very new disease suddenly cropped up. It was a rare pneumonia, and it first started in men in New York, California, primarily gay men, also in Haitians, and it was scary, and we didn't know what it was. Do you remember? Eventually, within a few months and years, we identified the virus as HIV, the human immunodeficiency virus. We identified the disease as AIDS. But there was a lot of fear around this disease. We didn't really understand it. And there were a lot of unknowns, and there was also a lot of homophobia. And some people were saying terrible things like this is God's revenge on homosexuality and things like that, if you recall. We were all around at the time. By the late 80s, there was a consensus that it was brought to the human population through the eating of bushmeat, probably jumped to the human species through chimpanzees in Africa. And to today's date, over 35 million people have died of AIDS and HIV-related illness. Enter Ed Graves. Ed Graves was born in Ohio in 1952. By all accounts, he was a very intelligent man. He went to the Naval Academy. And a few weeks before he graduated from law school in 1992, Ed Graves found out that he was HIV positive. Ed Graves decided to do some research. You know, people online, they say, do your own research. Well, Ed Graves did his own research, and he decided that the US government had created the HIV virus. And that the US government was, as black people walked by, shooting a dart into the back of their legs. He called it a microbiome inoculator. And infecting people with the HIV virus. That it was the government's effort to kill black people. He said that this was developed in Fort Detrick in Maryland. Now, kernel of truth, Fort Detrick in Maryland was decades earlier a center for US bioweapons research. So there was a kernel of truth there. He published a book, State Origin. This book was pretty darn popular. It was lauded in a lot of African countries. He was called, quote, the man who solved AIDS. He was, in 1999, one of the 25 most influential people in Cleveland's most popular, largest African-American newspaper called the Cleveland Life. He sued the US government. He appeared before the US Supreme Court in 2001. And he said that he cured AIDS with something called tetrasil, tetrasilver tetroxide, which was a topical ointment for fungus infections. Okay? He said that it cured AIDS within 3 weeks. Now, all this sounds crazy, right? And as I say this to you, my reaction, as I listened to Melanie give this talk, was like, this guy was nuts. How did this guy think this? So that the US government, he also thought maybe they were infecting mosquitoes, which HIV, and those mosquitoes were going into African-American neighborhoods and infecting them. But he was sure about the dart gun. Sure about the dart gun. I think this guy's crazy. He clearly fell for misinformation. How did he do that? He was a very intelligent guy. Well, I think, we live in the misinformation age. And we are all Ed Graves, and we could all fall for misinformation. And that's what this presentation is about. So I'll get back to Ed Graves. I know you want to hear what happened to him. But let's talk about misinformation for a second, because there's different types of misinformation. And I think I told you this last time, but let me just go over it again. The first type is kind of like innocuous or not intended to be harmful misinformation. If I get to Jeannie's house and I say, oh, you have that new virus, if you gargle with salt water, it'll go away. And she says, oh, that's great. And she sees it on Facebook and she shares it on Facebook. That's just misinformation. You're just trying to help somebody. You're wrong, but you're trying to help somebody. There's disinformation, which I think the classic example is the oil industry and their attempts to tell us that climate change really isn't happening or it's not really man-made. That's disinformation. You're spreading false information. You know it. It's deceitful. And then the third type is called malinformation. And this one is even when you use like real images, but you're using them in a very deceitful manner. For example, we've all gotten those Bank of America emails telling us that our account's been hacked, or my mom lost money that way. My son got a USPS message that he needs to put his credit card information to get his package, and it looks totally legit. So we have a 20-year-old falling for this, and we have an 82-year-old falling for this. This is one of the most, I think, powerful images of malinformation. This is a true photograph of a terrorist attack in London in 2017. There's a person on the floor. You can see she's being tended to. And this person walked by with her cell phone. And the Twitter account at South Lone Star said, quote, Muslim woman pays no mind to the terrorist attack as she casually walks by the dying man checking her phone. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. It's a true photo. But you know what that lady was doing? She was calling 999 in England, 911. And then but does this trigger you? This triggered me as a progressive, and I know, this is an open crowd, you could be anything you want, but as a Democrat-leaning person, my emotions like, ugh, at South Lone Star, some dumb Texan guy, look at this. But you could have the opposite reaction, right? You could be like, oh, Muslims, they're not really like us. Well, guess what? This isn't some guy in Texas. This isn't some guy in the United States. This isn't some guy. This is a Russian bot. They know exactly what they're doing. They're triggering all of us, one way or the other. So that's what this information, this talk is for. Why are you being triggered, and how do you keep yourself from getting triggered? This is our goal. This is unfortunately what Ed Graves did. Ed Graves rejected true information about the HIV virus, and he accepted false information. We want the opposite. We want to accept true information and reject false information. Now, there's two parts to this. And as Melanie says in this quote, there's two parts. There's understanding the types of misinformation, like the ones I just showed you, understanding the motives behind the misinformation, but also understanding ourselves and why we fall for crazy stuff or why we fall for misinformation. So let's start with why we fall for it, and then I'm going to show you some types of misinformation, some typical types of misinformation. So first, there's internal reasons why we fall for it, and there's external reasons why we fall for it. Internal reasons. It's in our, look, I haven't even looked at my cards. I'm way past that one. Okay. I practiced this before I came. But I do want to be on the right one in case I forget something. Here we go. Internal reasons. We think about evolution. Think about our ancestors, okay? Our tribe was really important to us. Our tribe gave us protection. Our tribe gave us family. Our tribe kept us safe. The other thing that kept us safe was fast thinking. So if we can go into evolution for a second here. This is my buddy Nathan Lentz, and I'm going to recommend a few books during this talk, and here's one of them, Human Errors. And he talks about all the mistakes in our bodies because of human evolution. For example, whenever my friend says she has a bad back, I say, well, fish were never meant to walk on two legs. Our backs, I mean, look at all the curves in our back. Of course, that's the most common complaint in America is back pain. I've had it. I think we've all probably had, maybe these three guys over here haven't, but the rest of us has had back. Have you had back pain already? Not yet. There's our hips, the childbirth is tough for a human female, okay? This is a chimpanzee. That doesn't look too difficult. The head of the chimpanzee easily passes through the birth canal. This is Lucy, Australopithecus afarensis. It's getting a little harder to pass that baby. And here's a human baby. Our brains are so big. You know, human babies are actually born, compared to other primates, 6 months early. Because if it got any bigger, it wouldn't get through the birth canal. She or he, I shouldn't say it, sorry. You know, so we have these mistakes in evolution, or not necessarily mistakes, but things that we carry, evolutionary legacy. For example, our teeth, our jaws have gotten smaller. Our teeth are smaller, but they don't always fit in our mouths. So yay dentists and yay orthodontists. We have to have our wisdom teeth taken out. Our ancestors had much larger jaws because of the food that they ate. This is my favorite. Did you know that the hole for your sinus drainage is at the top of the sinus and not at the bottom? We're the only ones, by the way. You've never seen a dog with really, really bad congestion. The way to get rid of a bad sinus headache is to lie upside down on your bed, which I can't do because I would get super dizzy. But it's, what the heck? The drainage hole's at the top. It goes against gravity. And then there's the blind spot in our eye. My students loved it when we all found the blind spot in our eye by using the 2 dots. I don't know if you've ever done that, where you could easily find the blind spot in your eye. So evolution has given us some, I don't want to call it baggage, but I guess it is. There's some baggage there. Well, what about our brains? I want you to picture your ancestor walking in the African savannah, and here's a rustling noise behind, let's say her. Let's hear a rustling noise behind her. Does she pull out the clipboard and go, it might be the wind. It might be a friend playing a trick on me. It might be a predator. That's not your ancestor. She's dead. You know who your ancestor is? The one who connected the dots very quickly, immediately felt fear, and got the heck out of there. That's your ancestor. She looked for patterns, she used quick thinking, and she relied on her tribe to protect her from danger. That is the brain that we are carrying. And that is why we have internal factors that help us fall for misinformation. Then we have our external factors. So our internal factors are that we have our biases, our emotions, our pattern detection, the way we are triggered by given information, especially if it belongs to the other tribe. But we also have the external factors, and those are the personal experiences and the perceived wisdom. I know what I saw. I saw Bigfoot. I saw Bigfoot. I know what I saw. That's a lived experience. I play a lot of tennis, and a lot of my friends pull out the arnica and the homeopathic remedies for their knees, and it worked for me. There's no evidence behind it, but it worked for me. There's also perceived wisdom. You're going to listen to your parents. You're going to listen to your clergy. You're going to listen to your tribe, your people, be it geography or culture, etc. And then, of course, there's the trust. We trust our tribe. I'll tell you a story about the election. Sorry. I was so sure Harris was going to win. I was on Twitter and I was on TikTok and I'm listening to my tribe, and oh my God, the early voting data in Pennsylvania, over 1 million people have already voted. We're building a firewall, and Florida and this. I was like in shock that night. And I realized that every time something popped up on my feed that was saying that Trump was ahead, I was blocking it out. I don't trust those people. That's not my tribe. And every time I was getting early voting data from Georgia, from the people that I trusted, I was opening and reading. So boy, was I wrong. I was really, really wrong. And if I was not the way I am, I might even think that election had been stolen. You know what I mean? I might have taken it to that next step because I was so sure she was going to win. How could she possibly have been? How could she possibly have lost? There must have been some shenanigans going on. So I actually saw the process how 4 years earlier people could have fallen for election denial because I felt myself falling for it. And remember, we're going to listen to that tribe. We're going to listen to these people protected you when you were out thousands of years, tens of thousands of years ago out in the boonies. And today, your tribe is the internet. So maybe nobody around you thinks that the earth is flat, but oh boy, you can find your tribe of flat earthers online or Bigfoot believers online or whatever it is out there. The tribe is easier to find now. So this is my favorite slide, and I think the key slide to Melanie's presentation. First, there's the information deficit model versus the web of the belief model of how your brain works. And I'm going to show you some of my favorite people. That is, I'm in the orange astronaut outfit, and that's Anna and Ellie. Those are two of my favorite colleagues at Carver Middle School. And when I taught climate change and someone said to me, "Oh, Ms. V, it's not real," or "Oh, Ms. V, how could only 2 degrees make such a difference?" I thought, oh, that's just like one fact. That's wrong. Let me get that fact out of your head. Okay? Oh, creationism, evolution isn't real. I believe the earth is 7,000 years old. Okay, that's one fact in your brain that's wrong. That one fact is wrong. Let me get rid of that fact. I warned them that I was going to do that to them. But actually, your facts are not individual in your brain. Your facts make up a web of belief. A web of belief. That's how facts work. And if I try to get rid of this fact over here, tug over there, it's like John Muir. It's attached to all the other facts. So it's really hard. Like if you think of Ed Graves and you're thinking, how the heck did he believe in darts? He's crazy. Let me take that one fact out of his head and throw it. No, because it all had to do with this big web of belief around everything he believed. This is a group of kids. These are young earth creationists. They invited me to speak last October in Boca Raton, Florida. They invite people like me to speak to young earth creationist kids. And what the purpose is to teach the kids to debate me. It was like shooting fish in a barrel. But they want these kids to debate an evolutionist like me, so that they can learn the arguments. And boy, they had amazing arguments. Was I going to change their minds in an hour and a half? We had a great time, by the way. Super awesome, smart, great kids. I wasn't going to change their mind in 2 hours because I wasn't going to eliminate this single fact out of their brain. The fact that they're young earth creationists means that they believe their parents, they believe their clergy, they trust their community. And boy, did they have all the answers. Noah's flood and carbon dating. And they had all of the answers why all of when I tried to explain to them, well, no, evolution is true because they had all of the answers against me. So it's not, facts aren't going to change minds. You have to reach into the beliefs of that person and the whole picture of why they believe what they believe, and to give them like a more, consistent view of why they believe what they believe. And this is another great slide. This is a famous analogy by Jonathan Haidt. So the rider is your logical side of your brain. And the elephant is your emotions, your biases, etc. You think you're in control. You think that when you get a new piece of information, your logical side is in control, and you're processing this information logically. No, you're not. No, I'm not. If you feel more comfortable with me talking about me instead of you, the elephant's in control. Your emotions are in control. And so you hear new information, even if you think, the elephant's going that way, you're not going to stop an elephant. You're not going to stop your emotional, your response is unconscious. Speaking of web of belief, I have a spider coming down right here. Hi, baby. It's a daddy long legs. So let's go over some of these. Intuitive thinking. Intuitive thinking is what I said. Your patterns, your biases, etc. Motivated reasoning. This is really important. You're going to believe what you want to believe. Even if I go online and I want to find stuff about climate change if I want to believe that climate change isn't real, I go online, I'm going to Google, I'm going to find what I want to find. I'm going to find that climate change isn't real. That's called motivated reasoning. Confirmation bias. Let me tell you about my husband's best friend. His name's Albert. Albert is sure that when he crosses a street, more cars come by just to bother him because he's trying to cross a street. Albert is an architect. Albert is a college-educated family man. You know what Albert is doing? Every time he crosses the street and there are no cars, he's discarding that information. And every time he crosses the street and there's a lot of cars, he says, see? Confirmation bias. You're only taking in the evidence that feeds your elephant, that feeds what you believe. For me, emotions play a big part of it. I'm kind of emotional. And when I hear information that goes against what I want to believe, I get a little angry, I get nervous, I feel my pulse rate going up. I can't watch the news right now. I've deleted everything, and I need a break from the news. And so that's my emotions at play. There might be good information coming my way, but I don't want to hear it. Repetition, of course, the more you hear something, and us being in our echo chambers, the more you hear it, the more it's going to get into your heads. Then, of course, oh my goodness, we're dealing with these two right now, aren't we? The polarization of our culture, like how many friends of the other tribe are in your friend group? I can't think of too many, actually, in my friend group. And who do I trust? And who do I not trust? And where am I getting my information from? So these are the internal things that affect how you take in information. Now I'm going to tell you about the types of misinformation, because they're both at play here. How we process information, to be mindful, and also the types of misinformation. The first one's called satire. This is not real, but it made the rounds on Facebook. If part of your belief system is that Americans have bad diets, because Europeans are always telling me that, you see this and you're going to go, oh my gosh, these crazy Americans, are they kidding me? Licorice flavored hot dogs. It's not real, it's fake, okay? But it sure plays into some people's ideas about Americans. And then we have out of context. This is a real image of cats. Do you see all those poor cats? They're all lined up there. I'm glad Evie's not here. Her little sister loves kitties. And it says, retweet if you say no to animal testing. Oh, that would totally trigger me. Well, guess what? It's a University of Florida vet school students during a rescue drive spaying and neutering all the kitties. This is perfectly safe. But if you want to trigger me, animal lover that I am, that was emotional. So my point is this: know yourself and know the types of misinformation. You see cats on a table like that, you feel emotion, stop. Check. And certainly don't share, because people trust you. Then there's manipulated. During the fires in Australia, this image made the rounds. Remember the terrible fires in Australia? Well, they're two separate images. They're not the same image. And I'll show you how easy it is to do this. That's my dog. I did it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. I'm very bad at technology. I don't think that's so bad. He even looks like he's pondering the question. My dog is the president of the United States. So that's manipulated. And then there's absolutely fabricated. Okay? Pope Francis shocks the world by endorsing Trump. This was absolute, complete not true. But boy, it made the rounds on the right-wing side of our world. And guess which one made the rounds on my side? Have you ever heard this? If I run, I'm going to run as a Republican. They're the dumbest group of voters in the country. They believe anything on Fox. I could lie and still eat it up. I bet my numbers would be terrific. I believe this. I believe this till Melanie showed this presentation in October in Cyclone. That is not true. He never said that. I fell hook, line, and sinker. Why did I fall hook, line, and sinker? Because I wanted to believe this. So every time I give this presentation, afterwards people come up to me and say, oh yeah, you know, those Bigfoot believers and those flat earthers, oh my God, what are we going to do with those? You're missing the point. This is about me and you too. You know, and it's uncomfortable to say that, but it is. Then we have the satire, we have the manipulated, we have the out of context, and then we have what Melanie calls science's pretenders. There's pseudoscience and there's science denial. Now, pseudoscience requires very low standards of evidence. For some medicine that helps your knee, my friend's arnica medicine, no double-blind protocol, no thousands of sample tests, no like 10 years of research, just it worked for me. Science denial is the flip side of that. Science denial is I don't care how much evidence you throw at me, I'm not going to believe it. So it's a really high standard of evidence. Here's a great example. This is Belle Gibson, the example of pseudoscience. Belle Gibson made all the social media rounds. She was a wellness expert. She claimed she had brain cancer. She claimed she had brain cancer and that healthy lifestyle and healthy eating cured her brain cancer. In 2012, her wellness app was Apple's #1 app of the year. Health and wellness app of the year. Absolutely made up. She never had brain cancer. So that's pseudoscience. An example, of course, we know the science denial examples, the tobacco industry. Just promote that doubt, right? Doubt is our product. Well, maybe cigarettes don't cause cancer. We're not sure. You don't have to prove that cigarettes are healthy. You just have to show that there's some sort of doubt. Another great book that I recommend is Merchants of Doubt by Naomi Oreskes. And it's how the the tobacco industry uses promotion of doubt to really slow down the health initiatives against cigarettes and tobacco. Those same techniques were used by the oil industry for climate change. Now, pseudoscience and creationism often play off of each other, okay? If I really, really, really don't want to believe the science, I'm going to fill it with pseudoscience, science denial. I'm going to fill it with pseudoscience. And if I really, 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 really want to believe something like I am special in the universe and God is real, then I'm going to deny the evolution and the science. So these two play against each other a lot. And then the root of a lot of the misinformation are what we call conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories are like epistemic black holes. No evidence is getting through. Okay? The government is hiding evidence, or the government is planting evidence. Like nothing anybody can say can change somebody who believes in Bigfoot's mind, because they think the government is hiding Bigfoot from us. So that's called a conspiracy theory. It's a trap, a conspiracy theory. Now there are real conspiracy theories, right? Like the oil industry and climate change, like the government adding poisons to alcohol during Prohibition. Sounds crazy, but it's true. I looked it up. in industrial alcohol production. So the trick is, gosh, this is kind of complicated. How can we tell the difference? And it's knowing ourselves, knowing which way our elephant wants to turn, keeping that in check, and trying to learn and critically think about a topic. Let me get back to Ed Graves. I just will just throw these away because I'm like just flying along here. Okay, Ed Graves passed away at the age of 57 in 2009. His cause of death is unknown. And he certainly denied science. He certainly fell for pseudoscience. And what made him vulnerable was a lack of trust, right? A lack of trust in the US government. He isn't alone. In 2005, 50% of Black people said HIV was man-made. 15% said it was for a Black genocide. Now, I know that was 20-year-old data, so newest data we can find. Why? Why would he believe this? You know what? 300 years of slavery, 100 years of Jim Crow, and of course, Tuskegee, right? Tuskegee, for those young people here, it was a government program where 399 Black men who had syphilis were not treated. Even after we had penicillin and could treat them, we didn't treat them to see the progression of the disease. That's awful that our government did that. As a matter of fact, 150 of these men died of syphilis and related causes. 40 of their spouses got syphilis. They passed it to 19 children. And by the way, the last participant didn't die till 2004. So it's pretty darn recent in our history. So it causes harm, this type of belief, because in terms of HIV and AIDS, you're going to refuse treatment. You're going to refuse use of condoms. Ed Graves was also a homosexual, so he really didn't want to believe that he caught it that way. So there's the Tuskegee experiment. So it comes down to, if you're going to push misinformation and you're going to push polarization in a society, what you want to do is create a lack of trust. Where did he get his information? It didn't come out of a hat, by the way. This is from 1992. Sorry, I jumped ahead because I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. Wow. Thank you. I'm just going to put those away. In 1983, this came out in the paper. It said an American biologist decided that U.S. government created the HIV virus. Then there's the Siegel report in 1986. This was Jacob Siegel. They said he was a French biologist. He was actually an East German physicist. And he said that it was created by the U.S. By the end of the 80s, this had made the rounds to all the major TV and social media. Well, not social media. They didn't have social media. But even Dan Rather brought this up in a newscast in 1987. It made the rounds of all the countries in the world, etc. Where was this coming from? Do you want to guess? Russia. In 1992, they admitted that they had fabricated all of this stuff. But what you do is you plant a news article, you let it spread, and you plant a second news article, the Jacob Siegel article, you let it spread. You plant the third, and then eventually these articles have a life of their own, and you just let it go. And the idea is you make sure you're pushing, you're affecting people's trust or lack of trust on our social systems, on our government, etc. Distrust. It's distrust. It's not doubt. It's the prime objective of disinformation campaigns. Mere doubt can be overcome with evidence, but distrust cannot. Big Pharma doesn't want you to know. Make people distrust Big Pharma or make people distrust the government, etc. This isn't over. This is last year. This is Slovenia. This guy lost. This guy lost because Russia made a video of him saying he was going to increase the price of beer. Slovenia is the largest beer drinking country per capita in the world. He lost to the Putin-backed candidate. He was a NATO candidate, and he lost the Putin candidate. This is just now. This was last September. In our elections, these ladies are European fashion influencers. They just put those hats on them. Same with these ladies. One of these ladies was in Ava, MAGA 1996. She was interviewed. She was, I have no interest in American elections whatsoever. I'm promoting fashion in I think it was Denmark or something. So they just took these ladies and turned them into fake news. I think it's 33% of all Twitter accounts are Russian bot-generated Twitter accounts. This Luna with the check mark, I don't know if you know what that means, but it's like a certified account or something. It's like a famous person. That appeared on my feed. Triggered me, of course. Ugh, unvaccinated. You know, it got my elephant going. My elephant was rampaging. Okay, so it's still going on. My point is, we can all fall for misinformation. We are all at graves. And we have to, when we get information, I want you to think about how you're reacting to it, why you're reacting that way. You're not perfect. And certainly don't share it because people trust you. You want to think about that. And so what am I trying to do with Generation Skeptics is teach young people this. Because we teach young people about evaluating the claim, the moon is made of cheese. We evaluate where the source of the claim, where's that information coming from? But you know what we don't teach them? We don't teach them the third factor. Do they want to believe the moon is made of cheese? What do their families believe? What's the why would I want to believe this? Who's making money off of this claim? That kind of thing. Epistemic vigilance. So that's what Generation Skeptics is about. I meet with kids. The little kids right now are doing a lesson on the Sneetches and the importance of tribalism and how you feel, and you know, tribes are good too. It's not that tribalism is bad. This is your tribe. And if you're sick or you want to celebrate something, these are the people that you call. So it's not that it's a negative thing. It's just that we have to be mindful that we're going to trust each other more than the other guy. And is that always a good thing? That's me with doing skeptical birding in Miami with some cutie pies. And so in the year and a half that we've been doing this, we've already done 32 workshops for teachers in 18 US states and at least 20 children's events. We are publishing a lot. Like Jeannie said, we're publishing in Skeptical Inquirer. I just got published in the Science Teacher, which is a National Science Teaching Association journal for high school teachers. That's it right there. I'm very excited to talk about what Jeannie said. There's a book coming out February 25th, and the editor let me do a whole chapter on this. Because I taught climate change. Anna, my friend's up in that photograph, playing silly in front of my classroom. We tried to say, no, you're wrong. The fact is you're wrong because the facts are wrong. Let me show you the facts about climate change. That wasn't the way to go. The way to go is to try to understand why that child didn't believe in climate change. What was their family history? What was their political history? Because climate change, belief or non-belief in climate change is more tied to your political ideology than it is to the facts. And then teaching teachers how to reach these kids, because mocking them and disrespect is certainly not going to work, right? So we have to figure out how to reach people across the aisle in other tribes. The book is 25% off right now, free shipping in the US. And if you want to learn more, we're doing the 100th anniversary of the Scopes trial. The famous Scopes trial is this summer in Tennessee. I'll be speaking there, Evolution, and Richard Dawkins will be there as well. And so these are our take-homes today, guys. Richard Feynman said, the first principle is that you must not be fooled, and you are the easiest person to fool. We can all be fools. Know your vulnerabilities, know how your mind works, and place your trust wisely in those around you. And it's a crazy world right now. Thank you.
much, Bertha. It is a crazy world out there, and we're so appreciative that you and Janice have come today to help us understand it. It's so now we're open for questions. If anyone, or Bill, you have a word to say?
Over the recent years, many of us have used fact check.
Mm-hmm.
A big change has occurred in actually eliminating fact check.
Mm-hmm.
Could you make a few comments? Because fact check has been extremely useful to many of us to deal with the issues that you are talking about.
Yeah.
And would you maybe comment about the reliability of fact check?
I think the thing is that it's scary because there's no one out to save us. You know, we have to check everything ourselves and remind ourselves that there's motivated reasoning. I'm going to find the answer I'm looking for, right? So there are still some sites available. I think Snopes is very, very good. There's a few universities now that have fact checking, and I really recommend News Literacy Project. News Literacy Project has fact checking. What I do before I look is who's funding this. You know, if I see the funding is nebulous or maybe coming from the Heartland Institute or something like that, I tend to be mindful of this. Because I think a lot of the misinformation is people trying to make money off something, like the anti-vax stuff.
By the way, I would just like to make a comment. Bertha, you have achieved something very unusual. I'm amazed at the attendance here today, for which I'm so appreciative.
I have a brief anecdote you might want to put in your...
Add to the slides. I could add that to the slides.
Yeah. My grandson's family moved to Texas for a couple of years, and he came into his biology class with a big, heavy, typical high school textbook, put it on his desk, and the teacher said, "We're going to begin on evolution today." And she said, "Of course, it's only a theory." And my grandson raised his hand. She called on him. She learned her lesson the hard way. And he picked up his biology book, dropped it on the floor, and said, "Gravity is only a theory also."
Yeah. You know, there's talk, I don't think it's going to happen, of changing the word theory to principle, or because it does really mean two different things, right? It's like the word organic. In the grocery store it means something, and in chemistry lab it means something else. So should we change the word theory? That's great. Nice heavy textbook to the floor. I always say, do you want your doctor to wash his hands before he operates on you? Because that's just a theory. Or the sun is the center of the solar system. Heliocentric theory. So I start every evolution unit with what is a theory in science.
Okay.
Kudos to your grandson.
Right, but if they are theories, they're not proofs.
Well, then you're going into math, right?
Right. And so it is the theory of gravity. It has
Sure.
a mathematical component, but a skeptic would say there's maybe an anti-gravity somewhere out there in the universe. It's a big place.
Sure. And find me a rabbit fossil in the Precambrian, as JBS Haldane said, and we can throw theory evolution out. Yeah, for sure. And that's another thing.
Skeptics, and that's why it's always a theory.
And that's so hard for kids to understand, that it's okay to be wrong, and that scientists always leave that door open, the possibility of being wrong and trying to prove themselves wrong instead of trying to prove themselves right. So I have this whole discussion with my class exactly like that. Like, okay, we've been wrong before. We thought the human cell we had 24 pairs of chromosomes, and now we realize it's 23 pairs of chromosomes. I like to point out moments where scientists have been wrong, and that's okay.
I don't see any hands up.
Good.
No, wait, now listen.
Melanie, where are you? It's your presentation.
Okay.
My question is, especially with younger children, we raise them, we try to protect them, and we create lots of lies to protect them. Even things like innocuous, like, Santa Claus's reindeer. So how do I think you're fighting a little bit of that, and that, there's a foundation that's not really factual.
Yeah, I like to wait for the cognitive age that it's appropriate, like with my own son, and ask questions. And I like to let him ask questions, like, how did Santa make it to every house in one night? And how does Santa come in if we don't have a chimney? And that's what I did with the creationist kids. I slowly, gently asked questions, but not when he's 5 or 6, when he was going into middle school, and I didn't want him to be the one kid who's still, but it's painful. It's a very painful process. I've gone through, in the last year and a half, my tribe is really, really wrong about something, and it's a very, very dangerous belief. And it's harder when it goes against your tribe. Like, I'll fight politics all day, and I walk out and I don't feel bad. I'll fight religious people, not fight, but debate religious people all day, and I don't really feel bad. But when I'm sitting at a table with people and it's my tribe who's angry at me, and my tribe that's acting at me, and I'm going against my tribe, it's a terrible feeling.
Jeannie and I had the privilege last evening of spending the evening dining with this lovely young Bertha.
How about that?
And I would like for you to make a little comment about your next book on misinformation. Misinformation was the most important force that resulted in the outcome of our election.
Yeah.
It is.
I think it's the 5th horseman of the apocalypse. I really do.
But about your book, what?
No, I'm saying misinformation is they don't have to drop bombs on us. They don't have to smuggle weapons into our country. They just have to create those Twitter feeds. And they're doing it very, very well. And we know it goes back to the 80s. I mean, it's not a new thing.
Well, a couple things I wanted to mention. First of all, in regard to theories that are science, I've always used the word principles because that's different. But it really hits home when you say, when you're pushing back against those in your circle. I'm Jewish, and some of the people in my circle feel very, very vehemently about what's happening in Israel with Palestine.
That's one of those explosive
It really is. And so if I bring up, for example, with a rabbi that Larry likes, if he says who wants to say something about someone who is ill, give their name so we can do a blessing. And if I say the Gazians,
yikes,
he just ignores me.
Yeah.
And and I also have people in my circle who are constantly spreading things that they think are real on Facebook. And I have to say, did you look this up? And here's a link to Snopes.
It doesn't feel good to ask them that, right?
No, but some of them are good about it. They're like, oh, whoops, but it's too late because they've sent it to 100 people.
And Mark Twain said, misinformation, lies go around the world before the truth has even gotten out of bed. I love Mark Twain. It's really uncomfortable to ask your own, and I feel like a buzzkill. I'm Debbie Downer. Like, that stuff doesn't actually work on your knees. You hate to be that person that's always going, did you look that up? There's no evidence it works any better than the placebo. Or did you look that up about the beheading of Jewish infants? That's not really true. You hate to be that person. So a lot of the times I'm not brave. I don't do what other people do and stand up. I'm here, but It's hard. It's really hard to be that buzzkill person.
Thank you for being here. And I want to pick up on this theme, especially about Twitter. So I've been active in the gun violence prevention movement for a long time, and I've encouraged our organization, which is the largest gun violence prevention organization in the country, to get off of Twitter because of this concern. But I find myself wondering if we leave that space, and Shannon Watts, who founded Moms Demand Action, has recently written about this. If all the liberals leave, then the only thing left is conservatives and Russian bots.
And echo chamber.
So what do we do? How do we responsibly engage in the conversation or try to correct the misinformation that's out there?
It's an excellent question. And can you stomach it? Can you stay on there? And you have to find the people who can stomach it and stay on there. I deleted Twitter, so you're looking at the wrong person.
Me too.
But she's right. If not, the echo chamber just gets smaller and louder and louder. I know that we need to change the way, I think Democrats a lot of the time are very, well, there's this fact, and those are the facts. We need to start appealing to the elephant. I think the public, they're very good at appealing to the elephant. So, I mean, with that issue, I can think of easy ways to appeal to emotion, right? Unfortunately, it's such an important issue. The gun violence issue? Instead of throwing facts at somebody, try to tell them a story. And I think the gun violence issue, my goodness, unfortunately, do we have terrible stories? That's going to work better than 5,600 children died this year of gun violence. More, tell the story of that one child at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. You know, that kind of thing, where you're appealing to the elephant and not to the rider. But
hi, I have a question about how this whole thing about ivermectin got started.
Ivermectin, I know. How did that get started? My first thought is somebody's profiting from that, because a lot of misinformation comes from profit. So what happened to their stock? What happened to... That's the question. I don't know the answer, but that's something I'd like to look up. There was a profitable reason to bring up that whole nonsense.
Yeah, so my tribe got totally into this. And my sister is a nurse. And she provided all of this scientific information to, close family. They all started taking it. And my mother, who was 96 at the time, was taking large doses of it. And there was nothing that you could say, and all of them started taking, my brother, my sister, the rest of the family, were all on ivermectin. They all got COVID.
Oh.
And still, well, maybe we forgot to take our medicine one day. And that's why we got COVID. I mean, it was nuts.
It's really hard. I don't know the answer. Like, all I know is I can help myself and hopefully help you not fall for it next time. But once someone falls for it, like, I don't think there were maybe 2 of those creationist kids that are going to go home going, most of them, I'm not reaching them. So how do we reach the gun crowd? How do we reach the ivermectin crowd? Don't know. I knew I was going to get that question, and I don't know the answer. Oh, ivermectin, it's in something for veterinary use. It's against parasites in horses and things, and it started out that it cures the COVID virus. And people were taking it in large doses, and they were getting it from their veterinarians and stuff, and thinking that that was a perfectly acceptable substitute to the vaccine.
Not fact check this.
Uh-oh.
But he's had livestock, and he says when you give ivermectin to your livestock, the meat cannot be sold or edible for 6 months. So, yeah, just inject that ivermectin.
I won't be eating my neighbors then, because they don't eat your family. That shows you, like, that's the other side of, like, pseudoscience and some supplements that my friends are so convinced has helped them get through menopause without hot flashes or whatever. Some of them have bad side effects. You know, FDA drugs take 10 years to get on the market. Supplements, it's like 3 months. So we have to be very careful, especially those health-minded, nature-minded, those among us, that we can fall for that stuff. And it might be dangerous. But the arsenic is natural. I told my tennis friend that, just, arsenic's not natural. I go, what do you mean it's one of the 92 naturally occurring elements in the universe? It's as natural as it's going to get. So yeah, it's called the appeal to nature fallacy.
I've got a quick one for you. You showed that article that was in about Trump in '98 talking about blah, blah, blah. And I fell for that hook, line, and sinker. I thought that was just wonderful, you know.
Me too. It makes perfect sense.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Totally fits in line with my elephant.
Yeah, exactly. How would I fact check that?
Oh, go online and say, did Trump say? That's called lateral reading, and that's what these guys got this morning. You go online and say, did Trump say, I'm going to be a Republican because, and then add the word hoax. And it'll come up immediately that he never said it. I believed it forever. I believed it till October 23, 2024. I was so disappointed.
Oh. Do you want to give it?
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I wonder if that's true.
Okay.
Bill?
Oh, I think the chief medical officer in Florida, named to that position by Governor DeSantis, actually advocates ivermectin.
I'm wondering, RFK makes a lot of money promoting anti-vax ideas. I bet you that guys, and to me, profit is one of the worst ways misinformation spreads. Ay, ay, ay. He's got blood on his hands, that man. In Samoa and the measles outbreak there.
Yeah.
And who's ever heard of a brain worm?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. Jeannie, I think it's, we need to call the session.
Oh, yes. It's difficult to conclude such a wonderful session. We're just blown away, Bertha, by...
Well, I thank Melanie. I'll thank her for you all.
Thank you so much for coming today, sharing your insights.
You guys have to get Melanie here.
I'm sorry.
You got to bring Melanie.
Oh, okay.
Melanie is, she wanted to come, but I think there was a forum date conflict. Because she was here in Naples. Her husband, if you saw Seraphic Fire was here in December. It's a choral group. Her husband's the conductor. So she was here and was willing to come, but I think there was a conflict in speakers. So.
To Bertha.